Hey guys, we're going to go through my PowerPoint via paper. But we're going to look today at coefficients and subscripts in chemical equations. So if my handy videographer here will come around the side. So to start with, we're going to talk about a subscript. Subscripts show a ratio of atoms of elements in a compound. So this is an example, that little 2 is an example of a subscript. Like a submarine goes under the water, a subscript will go under the letters. So in this case, we have 1 atom of carbon and we have 2 atoms of oxygen. So let's practice a minute looking at this chemical equation. Fe2O3. How many Fe, which is iron, how many Fe atoms do we have? Well, if you look at the little 2, the subscript, it'll tell you you've got 2 iron atoms. And then, how many O atoms, how many oxygen atoms do we have? If you look at the little subscript, the 3, that tells us that you have 3 oxygen atoms. And finally, they want to know how many elements are in this compound. Remember, you can't count letters. You can't go 1, 2, 3. There's not 3 elements. The little lowercase e is part of the Fe symbol. So Fe is 1 element, iron. Oxygen is the second element, 2. So there's 2 elements of iron and oxygen in this chemical equation. Finally, subscripts cannot be changed. So when we start balancing chemical equations, our subscripts won't change. And that'll make sense a little later on. Now we have something called a coefficient. Okay? So a coefficient gives the number of molecules of a compound. Coefficients multiplied by the subscript gives the number of atoms of each element. So for example, the big number 3 there, that's the coefficient. The little number 2, remember that's the subscript, submarine, goes down bottom of the numbers there, of the letter, sorry. So 3H2O means there are 3 molecules of water. So you can think of it like this. Oh, hold on, I got the dead marker. Okay, here we go. 3H2O. That means I have 1, 2, 3 H2Os. So in here you can see I've got 1, 2 hydrogen, another 2 hydrogen, another 2 hydrogen, for a total of 6 hydrogens. And I have 1, 2, 3 oxygen. So over here when it tells us, or asks us, how many atoms of hydrogen are there? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or you can multiply. 3 times 2 gets me 6. So I have 6 hydrogen. How many atoms of oxygen are there? Well, I've got oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. I have 3 oxygen atoms. Or you can multiply 3 times that imaginary 1 that's there. Remember, you don't have to write the 1. We know that there's at least 1 atom of oxygen just because the O's there. So we have 3 atoms of oxygen. So finally, my last question in here is how many elements are in this compound? We have hydrogen and we have oxygen. So there are 2 elements in this compound. So coefficients can change. So when we start balancing these coefficients, they can change. All right, so let's practice here a minute. I have Ag2Cl5. First of all, how many elements are in this compound? 2, Ag and Cl. What is the coefficient? There's none. What is or are the subscripts? 2 and 5. How many atoms of each element are there? Well, there's 2 atoms of silver, and there are 5 atoms of chlorine. All right, let's look at this one. How many elements are in the compound? Well, we have 1, 2, 3. Ag, N, and O. What is the coefficient? 2. What is or are the subscripts? Well, there's an understood 1, an understood 1, and then there's a 3. And how many atoms of each element? Well, be careful. I have 2 AgNO3s. So I can multiply 2, the coefficient, times the understood 1 subscript. So that gets me 2 Ags. I'd also have 2 nitrogen. And when I multiply the coefficient times the subscript here, I would have 6 oxygen. All right, last one here. How many elements? 3. K, N, and O. What is the coefficient? 3. What is or are the subscripts? 1, 1, and 3. And how many atoms of each element? How many atoms of K, potassium, are there? Remember to multiply. 3 times the 1, the understood 1. So there's 3 potassium. How many nitrogen? 3 times the understood 1. So there's 3. And how many oxygen? 3 times the subscript 3 gets you 9. All right. One last thing I'm going to show you. What if you see something like this? 2 N CO2 with a 3 outside of it. So to do this one, you're going to have to apply the 3 to everything inside the parentheses. So you can multiply the 3 times the understood 1 and the 3 times the 2 there. So that's really going to say I've got C3O6. And then bring down what I haven't used, the 2N yet. So now I have 2 NC2O3s. So I would have, 3 there. Thank you. All right, so I would have 2 N's. I would have how many C's? Remember, you're multiplying. So that's 6. How many oxygens would you have? Remember, you're multiplying. So I would have 12. 2 nitrogens, 6 carbons, and 12 oxygens. All right, I'm going to attach a worksheet where you're practicing doing this. Email me if you're struggling on anything. See y'all later.